Servite Housing Association will soon build 34 new homes on a site in Kirkton, an area to the north of Dundee which borders open countryside and the Sidlaw Hills. The homes will be built on Keswick Terrace and Ashmore Street. Servite has just over 1,200 houses for rent in Dundee, Perth and Kinross, Angus and Fife. The association provides homes for single people, families, wheelchair users and elderly people. Servite was established as an independent Scottish association in 1985 and is based in Strathern Road, Brodie Ferry, Dundee. As a charity, Servite's only aim is to provide good quality affordable housing. The association is run by a voluntary management committee elected by Servite's members. Tenants are encouraged to get involved. Although Kirkton is best known for the housing schemes built at the end of the Second World War, people have lived there for many centuries. More recently, in the 1930s, this was farming land owned by Dundee Corporation and zoned for development. The farms of West Kirkton and Magdalene's Kirkton were working out their notice, while in the centre of Dundee, overcrowded slums were being torn down and people needed new homes with basic amenities like kitchens and bathrooms. The chief tuberculosis officer was condemning slum properties as injurious to health, and the corporation was concerned about overcrowding. Bet Adesi lived in Brook Street near Blackness Road in the 1940s. She remembers what the old overcrowded houses were like.
You went through this big close and you went up the back stair and it was an outside toilet and it was a single end and my gran lived upstairs. Well, it was cramped conditions. There was mice. It was just a pure wreck.
In 1933, plans were drawn up for 1,456 tenement houses on the farm of Magdalene's Kirkton and another 1,012 tenement homes on West Kirkton. There would be shopping centres and schools, and the original plan was that the Magdalene's site would be developed by private enterprise. Debates followed about the type of housing. In 1936, Sir Herbert K. Ogilvie, owner of a nearby country estate, claimed the building of slum clearance tenements was an infringement of his rights because they were so different from the cottages and houses on his own estate. Sir Herbert was reassured that the new developments would be on thoroughly attractive modern town planning lines, including two-storey houses and cottages with 3, 4 and 5 apartments. Looking at pictures of early Kirkton, that description was accurate. For the most part, the estate was composed of attractive homes with gardens, well laid out and eventually well served with buses, schools and shops. These were at Bilgowan Avenue. Similar shops at Bewley Avenue provided fried fish, a greengrocer's, grocer, tobacconist, newsagent, sub-post office, hairdresser, fresh fish shop, butcher, baker, chemist and draper. The shops were let only to residents of Dundee who had some experience in the trade. Preference was given to people who did not already own shops. The idea was presumably to create employment and ensure the shops were well rooted in the local community. This is an early picture of Kirkton from the air. You can see the street plan with its broad avenues, the gardens and the sense of space. But things went wrong in Kirkton. The rot set in when Dundee Corporation had to abandon some of its early plans for an estate built on thoroughly modern, attractive lines. In 1945, the Department of Health for Scotland wrote to Dundee Corporation to say that spacious homes designed by the corporation before the war were now too expensive to build. They had to be reduced by as much as 125 square feet. At the same time, there was huge pressure to build new homes, and the result was a rush to build tenements. Shortages of materials such as bricks, a lack of skilled workers and the drive to cut costs led the corporation to adopt non-traditional building methods, which were not always successful. These houses were built in approximately 1950 on Ulverston Terrace, beside the site in Keswick Terrace which Servite Housing Association is developing. From the air you can see the flat roofs of Keswick, Ulverston and Coniston terraces. Compared to the slums, even the new flat-roofed homes and tenements were a huge improvement, even though the decor left much to be desired. Bet Adesi remembers seeing her new house in Ulverston Terrace for the first time at the age of 7.
When we got there, to me it was like Buckingham Palace because we had an inside toilet and we had the bath. When we arrived there it was white walls. They hadn't decorated the place. It was actually like an air raid shelter, actually just walking in. And it was red stone floors. Well, we had a coal fire in the 2 bedrooms and the living room. We had an electric point in the living room, but nothing in the bedrooms. When you used to go in for your coal, you often used to put your hand in and there was mice inside. And also we used to get field mice coming up the toilets.
Kirkton was very much a working community. The first residents of Keswick Terrace, where Servite will build its new houses, included a calendar worker, motor driver, porter, coffee stall proprietor, shoe repairer, painter, tile layer, plasterers and labourers. People took a pride in the area. There was a Kirkton Tenants Association in the 1950s, with its own hut on Emick Place. In the shiny new Kirkton of the time, it actually came as a surprise when the hut was attacked by vandals. The Tenants Association secretary, a Mr. Mitchell, said he didn't want people to think Kirkton had the same state of affairs as other places. The decline of the houses in Keswick, Ulverston and Coniston terraces was rapid. By the end of the 1960s, some of the houses in Keswick Terrace looked like this, and some of the remaining tenants were said to be living in fear. Poor old Sir Hector's worst nightmares had been confirmed. Bet Adesi is clear on the reasons why her Buckingham Palace crumbled so quickly.
Dampness, that was the main thing, and it was all stone. You know what I mean? There was no wood at all in the house, and it was just dampness, condensation. Everything, was mouldy. Even your bedside, if you had a mirror on your cabinet, it just was marled, and you couldn't see through it actually, The damp was so bad.
It wasn't just the Keswick Terrace area which went downhill. Large numbers of tenements were built, refurbished and demolished within 4 decades on the hillocks just to the north, forming Craigmore, Dunmore and Ashmore Street. Evelyn Keith lives in Craigmore Street. She says things were bad, but now they're better.
Tenements became rather unpopular because there was a lot of troublemakers that did live in some of the tenements, and I think that's why the housing decided to demolish them. There has been a lot of trouble in the past, but things are beginning to improve now.
Demolition left a number of sites lying fallow, and the City Council consulted the community to design a comprehensive regeneration strategy for the central core area, the site which will be partly redeveloped by Servite. Kevin Jimison works for the Housing Renewal section of the Housing Department.
We had, if you like, an integrated proposal of environmental measures, including tree planting, recreational facilities, housing, improved lighting, improved pedestrian routes, which we then consulted the local community on. There was a bit of dialogue and some adjustments to the plan, and we're now at the delivery stage.
The City Council held a competition to decide on the best developer for this site.
Servite produced an outstanding proposal, not only from the point of view of the design of the development, but also the very clear commitment and very measurable commitment they made to participating in the local regeneration partnership.
Servite's Director of Property Services is Andrew Kilpatrick.
On the site is a mixed housing development of some family houses, some cottages specifically designed for older people, a couple of houses that are specifically designed for wheelchair users, and a block of flats, 2 blocks of flats actually, one of which has got smaller flats for maybe younger persons, couples, and one of the blocks also has a couple of flats, again designed for wheelchair users.
Servite's experience in building energy-efficient housing will mean low heating bills for tenants.
Our plan is to have a fairly innovative system here called combined heat and power. Many housing associations are now doing this after Servite actually, and Perthshire Housing Association did the first scheme about 6 or 7 years ago in Perth. Now that involves taking a gas supply, putting it through a generator from which we generate our own electricity, and that then supplies all the houses and flats. The generator also provides heat, and along with some boilers we have a small district heating system which provides all the heating and hot water for the houses as well.
Families change, and so will Servite's houses. They're designed to be flexible.
With the family houses, the downstairs is designed so that the dining room can convert into a bedroom. Therefore, if in later years someone can't manage up and down the stairs, you can use the dining room as a bedroom. You have a living room, a kitchen, and there's a downstairs toilet which has a cupboard adjacent to it which can convert into a shower room. Therefore, someone could live their whole time on the downstairs. Whereas with the single-storey cottages, they're designed so that a large cupboard that's in the hallway can convert into a stairwell, and you can convert the loft space into another 2 bedrooms should that be necessary.
All the new houses will have a parking space, and some will have integrated garages. The houses will have fairly large gardens, and these will include the mature trees which run along the back of Ashmore Street. Servite will encourage its contractors to employ local people in the construction of the new houses, which will be complete in 2006. Their new tenants will enjoy easy access to local shops, including an Asda superstore and sports and leisure at the community centre. Kirkton Community Support is close by, and they host facilities such as the Cheap and Healthy Vegetable Cooperative, a computer room with internet access, the DEEP project which helps people get into work, learning around for educational opportunities, meeting facilities, and many other services. Because Servite is a charitable association, the Kirkton houses are exempt from the right to buy. This means they will never be sold and will be available for rent by future generations. Servite Housing Association thanks Dundee City Council, Evelyn Keith, Betta Dessy, the Central Library, the City Archives, and DC Thompson for their assistance with this presentation, which was made by our Community Liaison section.